and welcome to Billy Joel Weekend in Leningrad Live. I'm Ed Sciaky from WYSP Radio in Philadelphia on the DIR Radio Network. You're joining listeners from great stations across America as we prepare to embark on what will surely be remembered as a truly exciting event. In a moment, we will be giving out special phone numbers, which will be your link or bridge to the Soviet Union, where Billy Joel is standing by live to answer your questions and offer impressions of his experiences so far in the USSR. Billy has completed his first 3 concerts in Russia, playing to capacity crowds at the Olympic Sports Complex in Moscow, and is now in Leningrad, where he will finish this leg of the Bridge Tour with 3 shows at the Lenin Sports and Concert Complex. You're going to want to be near a phone because real soon we're going to join Billy on the road, back in the USSR, live in Leningrad. Billy Joel Weekend in Leningrad Live is brought to you by the Coca-Cola Company and your local Coca-Cola bottler, and by Visa, the official card and traveler's check of the 1988 Olympic Games. We'll go to Billy Joel in Leningrad in a moment. Billy Joel live in Leningrad. The numbers to call are 1-800-255-5967 out of New York State. The number for New York State only is 212-873-4995. Now let's join Billy Joel live in Leningrad. Billy, how are you?
Hi, Ed. I'm fine.
Yeah? You having a good time over there so far?
I'm having an amazing time here, Ed. I can't explain it correctly at this point.
Jeffrey Howard relayed this message. He said that his concern was that
well, we're having a little technical problem, but that's to be expected. Billy, if you can keep talking, we'll...
Sorry, Ed. I'm getting a little interference. Somebody else is talking in another studio.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say up front, because this is such a unique opportunity to talk to people, I would like to take as many questions as possible.
Okay. Well, why don't we just get right? Let's get started, shall we?
Okay.
Okay, we have our first lucky caller on the line, Rick from Detroit. He's listening on WCSX-FM. Rick, what's your question?
Yes, I'd like to know if Billy's planning any more tours to any other communist countries.
I don't have any plans for any tours other than a tour to Australia and New Zealand later this year. After I finish these shows in Leningrad, I'm going to take some time off because I've been on the road since September of '86. I don't know when I'll tour again after the end of this year.
Billy, if I might interject, maybe we should just have you explain a little bit. How did this all come about that you did go to Russia for this tour?
The people at my management company and the people here in the Soviet Union at called Gas Concerts, who are the people who promote concerts, have been working on this for about a year and a half. I had played in Havana back in 1979, and the response from the people there was incredible, and I thought it felt good to make some kind of contact with those people after all the political tensions and everything, and I started thinking about going here back then. Now, Elton has been here, and there's been a number of other artists that have been here, but they've never been able to bring a fully staged show, lights, sound, staging, all the personnel, just the way you do it in the States. And I just had a feeling that people here want to hear pop music. It's some kind of contact they can have with us rather than all these other things getting in our way. I thought it was just a great way for them to see what we enjoy in the States as entertainment. And so this was started to be put in motion right about the time my daughter was born. I really wanted to do it.
And, of course, you have her over there with you. We've seen the photos in all the newspapers. We have Julie on the line from, I think this is your home area, Bill, Long Island, New York. She's listening on WNEW-FM. Julie, what's your question for Billy Joel?
Hi, Billy. This is Julie. I heard you were inspired by a Russian poet. Is that true?
Yes, I was. He's actually a singer, and he's also, he's died. But he was a singer, and he was also a movie actor. He was a very controversial guy, and he died. There's different reasons for his death: kidneys, alcoholism. I think he died of a broken heart. His name was Vladimir Vysotsky, and he's very well loved here. I went to visit his grave when I was in Moscow, and I saw more people in the line to visit his grave than at Lenin's tomb, and this really knocked me out. I've never seen anything like this in the States, not even at Graceland. And when I asked kids why they were there, I just picked some kid. I said, "Why are you here?" He said, "Because he spoke the truth. We love him." And I thought I would dedicate honesty to him, and people here really appreciate it.
Thanks for your call. We have Patty on the line who's listening to WORZ-FM in Orlando, Florida. Patty?
Yeah.
What's your question for Billy?
Well, I'd like to know if all of the songs that he's playing in the concerts are being recognized by the Russian audiences.
That's a good question. Some of them are. I believe that the 52nd Street album was a very big album here. That goes back to 1978. I believe that may have something to do with it being a big album in Europe also. They do know songs like A Matter of Trust. They do know the songs that were the bigger hits. We're not just doing hits, we're doing some album cuts from a cross-section of all the albums. And what I'm doing is, before a lot of the songs, I have a guy who's translating for me. He's a guy that we found, and I've gone over the translations with him to explain what the song is about. And people get it. I mean, even when we do Good Night Saigon, at first there is some apprehension in the audience that I feel, and at the end of the song there's a very good response to it. They understand the song is about soldiers, not about politics, and what I'm singing about is people, and they're getting it.
I was going to ask you about that. I figured you would be doing Goodnight Saigon live over there, and I wondered if you had any kind of official response from whoever is in charge of all of this about that particular song, since it borders on the political, even though, as you say, it is really a song about soldiers.
I was not at all repressed in any of the material I chose. I picked my own material. I said, this is the show. I want to be able to do the show as freely as possible, or else it wouldn't be my show. And there's been no problem. The people here have been very cooperative. The Goss Concerts people have been terrific. And they're into it. They want to hear this stuff. They want to hear rock and roll. They want to see a real pop concert. They want to see what happens.
Well, I noticed that there was some question as to the response. They were not real responsive, and then they suddenly got real responsive. And there was some question about intimidation or whatever. And so it's really a change. It's a change in the way they're experiencing, I guess, a performance by participating in this, I would think.
Well, here's the thing. I think because they're trying to be polite, they don't want to do anything that's going to interfere with the audience. That's a tradition here. And in the beginning of the show, what I perceived from the stage was, number one, a certain amount of shock because of the volume level. I mean, it's loud. We have a lot of equipment going into this place. I don't think they've ever heard a PA system this loud before. And some of the older people who were just there because it was the thing to do, it was the place to be, I saw them kind of cringing, like, is it going to be like this all night? And some of them actually left. This is in the first part of the show, and when they left, they gave their tickets to these kids outside who wanted to come in. So there was somewhat of a change in the audience as the show went on, and the kids who had been waiting outside were more vocal. By the end of the show, people were standing up just like they do in the States. As a matter of fact, I made a comment at the end of the show. If you just looked at the front of the stage, the people all packed together, jammed up the stage, shaking hands, it could have been Detroit.
We have Trudy on the line from Hendersonville, North Carolina, listening on WMAG-FM. Trudy, what's your question for Billy Joel?
My question is, in the rush of fame and really getting your career built up, you haven't forgot about Long Island, have you?
No, I haven't forgot about Long Island. As a matter of fact, during the show, I talk about where I'm from. I talk about New York especially. They seem to appreciate that here because every area has a regional pride. And as a matter of fact, I say at the beginning of the show, excuse me, I don't speak any Russian. I say, izvinite. And then a translator translates. I say, I don't speak any Russian. I'm sorry. But then again, I'm from New York, and if I talk very New York, a lot of people in America don't understand what I'm saying either. And it gets a laugh, and it kind of breaks the ice. Because the show seems to be slowly but surely a matter of melting these icebergs. And it takes quite a while. It's a little unnerving at first. At first I thought the show was kind of dying, and then I realized they were warming up to it. They were just warming up to it. And I think maybe the New York sense of humor had something to do with it.
Do you say you have a translator? Is there someone translating throughout the show?
Yeah, there's a guy who stands off stage with a mic, and when I want to say something, I bring him up. Because, Ed, as you know in my show, a lot of the show is humor. A lot of the show is something that just pops into my head that happens spontaneously. And I want to share a thought with the audience. And some of the songs are better to translate before I do them because I have to assume a lot of people don't speak English, and I want them to feel what the song is about.
You haven't taken to reading any of your reviews live on stage lately, I trust.
No, not here. I don't understand the newspapers.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Sally, who's listening on KLSX-FM in Los Angeles, California. Sally, what's your question for Billy?
I'd like to know how the Russian people are different from the American people, how they react to Billy Joel.
As far as I've found, people-wise, you can't generalize. Everyone is different than anyone else. Just like in the States, one guy's different than the next guy. I found that it's funny. I mean, I'm a pop star, and I'm treated like a pop star. So I can't give you the average guy in the streets vision of things. I'm aware that people react to me as a celebrity, and that's always kind of weird. As far as the difference between the way people react to me because I'm Billy Joel in Russia and in the States, there's been no difference. Kids come up and ask for autographs. They want a photo. They want to talk to me about music. By the end of the show, as I've said before, the audience could be Detroit, could be Philadelphia, it could be St. Louis. It's once people get rocking, I tell you, they look the same. They all look like everybody else.
Billy, you mentioned that 52nd Street was big. Are your albums officially available in Russia?
No, we don't. No, we don't have a record deal. There is a state record company, Melodia, but there is no deal between my record company, Columbia Records, CBS, and Melodia. So the way the tapes go around is, I guess they're bootlegged. Everybody's got little cassettes, or else they'll listen to, what is it, Voice of America? Is it Armed Forces Network?
No, Voice of America. They get some.
Voice of America. They'll pick up some European radio. Some American kids might bring in tapes. It's a big bootleg thing.
So basically, your tour there is kind of a paradox in the sense of you're not officially released there, and yet they invited you there and have you there, and yet your records are basically bootleg and black market and radio, right? It's strange.
That's correct. That's correct. But because playing for me has always been the most immediate way to communicate my music, I figured that this was the best way to do it. Instead of waiting around for a record deal to be made or some kind of agreement where they could get my records, this could be a breakthrough, not just for me, but for a lot of people. These people love rock and roll. They love pop music. They want to hear more. They want to get as much as they can. And I was just hoping that this breaks the ice. I tell you the truth, this may sound like false humility, but I don't know if it's me they like or if it's just seeing an American rock and roll star. I do know that my show works at the end, but I think they want to hear more and more and more.
Mm-hmm. We have a call from Joe in Levittown, New York, who's listening on WNEW-FM. Joe, what's your question for Billy?
I'd like to ask Billy, can they buy your records in the USSR?
Well, we just did cover that. Okay, go ahead.
No, they can't buy the records. I'm sure that there's some buying and selling underground of tapes, and there's trading. There's a lot of trading of tapes going on, but my records aren't available for sale here.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Let me mention again, we're talking to Billy Joel live in Leningrad in the Soviet Union. This is Ed Sciaky on the DIR radio network, and we have a call from Eric, who's listening to WMMS-FM in Youngstown, Ohio. Eric, what's your question for Billy?
First of all, I'd just like to say, Billy, it's really nice to be able to talk to you. My question is this. I've read a lot of interviews that you've done, and you've cited that a lot of classical composers have influenced your music, and you used to listen to a lot of classical music when you were younger. You've never really elaborated on that, though. I'd just like to know, who are some of the classical composers that have influenced you, and are any of them Russian?
That's a good question. When I was a young boy, I was 4 years old when I started taking piano lessons, and both my parents listened to classical music. My father played very good classical piano, and my mother loved to listen to it on the radio. And I believe that the first classical music that they ever played for me on a record was Peter and the Wolf. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
Okay. Peter and the Wolf was written by a Russian composer named Prokofiev. The first ballet they ever took me to was the Nutcracker Suite, which was written by Tchaikovsky. When I was taking piano lessons, I had to learn Mussorgsky, Rimsky-Korsakov, Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, Borodin, Shostakovich, all the great Russian composers. They have an incredible history of very, very important classical music here. And anyone who listens to classical music knows and appreciates it.
Billy, do you find that there still is an appreciation of those composers in Russia today, or has it been suppressed?
No, it hasn't been suppressed. You can hear classical music. I've been to the record stores. All the great Russian composers are represented as far as I've seen. People love all kinds of music here. It's not just classical music. There's a huge love of jazz, which dates back probably before the war, and probably even got bigger after they were exposed to Glenn Miller records. They love every kind of music you can think of.
Lisa has a question from Lansing, Michigan. She's listening on Q106. Lisa, a question related to this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What's your question for Billy?
What songs couldn't he perform in Russia?
I think you pretty much said that you can do whatever you want over there, Bill, right? As far as songs. Billy.
Can you hear me there?
Yeah, we can hear you. You hear me? The wonders of modern science. Billy Joel live in Leningrad. Lisa was asking you if there was any songs you could not perform there, and I think you already said earlier that really you could do any songs that you wished. Okay, Billy Joel in Leningrad. Okay. Why don't we take a short break?
There's a fuse gone here, and I can't hear you. But I understand that you can hear me. Some of the equipment here is pre-war. I've recorded in studios like this, so I know it happens.
Okay, Billy, we're gonna.
So I'll just keep talking, and when I.
Okay, we'll get back to Billy. We're gonna take a short commercial. We'll bring back Billy live. We have Billy Joel back live in Leningrad. Billy, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. We had a little power surge here, and I think it blew something, but we're back.
Billy, I always told you to bring a few extra fuses when you go out on the road, you know?
I have them right here in my pocket, Ed.
Okay. Let's go right to Sarah, who's calling from Ames, Iowa, listening to KBLE. Sarah, what's your question for Billy Joel?
Of all the albums and songs that you've done, which one is your favorite?
It's usually the last album I've done, which would be The Bridge, but then I'll do the next album, and that'll be my favorite. I suppose it'll take me till I stop making albums to know really which one was my favorite, because they're all my children to me, and it's hard to pick your favorite kid.
Okay, let's talk to Stacy, listening on KFYR-FM in Ashley, North Dakota. Stacy, your question for Billy?
What do you like best about Moscow?
What do I like best about Moscow?
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, the people that I've gotten to meet, just on a social basis, when there's been the few moments I haven't had to do something, have been really terrific people. I feel like I've made some friends here, and that's been the most satisfying part of the visit, aside from being able to do the concerts, is to actually genuinely meet people. And sometimes I feel like I've known these people before. It's been very, very strange. I hate to use the word déjà vu, but sometimes I think I'm seeing my grandmother, and sometimes I think I'm seeing, great uncles and stuff. It's very, very interesting, emotional experience.
Are you big news in Moscow to the point where you really just can't meet people who don't know who you are at this point?
Well, I'll tell you what's been happening. A lot of places I go, there is a film crew documenting the whole thing, and they've been around, and the press gets wind of things, and there's photographers, and it ends up being a big entourage unless I sneak out. So people who may not know who I am see all this fuss going on, and they go, oh, Billy Joel, Billy Joel. We have been able to, once in a while, very low-key, go and meet some kids, and that's been interesting. I got the chance to talk to kids in a couple of different situations, and they do know who I am. There's a great grapevine here. It's much better than what we have in the States.
We have Dennis on the line calling from, why, I think you've heard of this place, Billy, Hicksville. Did you ever hear of it? Long Island, New York. Listening on WNEW-FM with a question about a topic near and dear to my heart and yours. Dennis, your question for Billy.
Hi, Billy. How are you?
I'm good.
I can't hear anything. Hello?
I'm fine.
Oh, what is the, how do you feel when you walk in the streets over there? What is the general attitude of the people that you pick up?
It's hard to read because it's very different when you're walking around in the streets. People don't, they don't run right up. That's in the different cities. It's different. In Tbilisi, which is down in Georgia, which is a whole other republic here in the Soviet Union. People are a lot more loose. There's a much larger Oriental, Middle Eastern influence. People are actually a lot more friendlier. People walk right up to me on the street and said, "American?" They don't know I was Billy Joel. They just knew I was an American, and I said, "Yes, I am." And they just hugged me. Old men would run up to me and kiss me on the cheek, "American, American." And this wasn't something that was set up, because this is something Christy and I did on our own. We kind of snuck out. Now, in Moscow, it sort of feels more like people in New York. In New York, people kind of stony-faced. They don't want to look at, they just, want to just keep going to where they're going. Don't bug me. I'm in a hurry. I don't want to get involved. It's that kind of vibe. Now, here in Leningrad, it's different again. Leningrad is more of a European-feeling city, almost Scandinavian. And it's near the ocean. People tend to be a little more relaxed. So it's been different every place I've been. I can't generalize and say, well, they're all like this. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, thanks for your call. Billy, I thought he was going to ask you about the topic I was referring to was the food. How is the food over there?
I've had some good food. I've had some lousy food.
Any McDonald's or...
No, we got some stuff catered by, should I say it? By the... I'll give them a plug, what the heck. By the Hard Rock Cafe, sent over all these hamburgers and hot dogs. And the U.S. Marines cooked us up a barbecue in Moscow. And that was a whole lot of fun. But I tell you, I've had, chicken. The chicken's great, just like my grandmother used to make. The chicken soup has been great, just like my grandmother used to make again.
Same recipe, right?
Some of this stuff is like, I don't know, the meat's overdone, or the, a lot of tomatoes. Down in Georgia, if you're a vegetarian, it's great, because the vegetables down there are terrific. Sometimes I've had mystery food. I don't know really what it is. Christy brought a lot of stuff for her and the baby, because she was afraid to eat food here, thinking it was going to be contaminated by the radiation. She even brought a Geiger counter. So whenever there was no food, we just kind of raided our own store box. Right. But by and large, it's been, you know what, Ed? It's been like road food. You get lucky, and you don't get lucky.
You mentioned Tbilisi, by the way. I mentioned earlier we played The Longest Time, and I heard that you had played with some Russian musicians in Tbilisi doing The Longest Time. What happened down there?
Well, I met these Georgian singers. It's a singing group, and they sing Georgian folk music, which is sort of this continuum harmony type of stuff. And we were in this church outside of the city of Tbilisi, and with great acoustics in it. And these guys were singing for us, and I had a couple of the singers with me, and we started singing our stuff. And they joined in with a little bit of doo-wop. And at the end, we were singing America the Beautiful, Glory, Glory, Hallelujah, Amazing Grace. I mean, it made the hair on my arms stand up. I had to comb my hair back down on my arms. And they know all this stuff. And then later on that day, we were supposed to have a jam session with these musicians, this bass player, a guy named Tomas, and the Georgian singers. And as it ended up, tickets got given out to this thing, and the whole opera house filled up with like over 1,000 people, and they wanted the concert. And I was trying to tell them, look, this is just a jam session, and they just kept clapping like, all right, well, we want to hear something. So we ended up doing sort of a mini concert without our own material. It kind of blew out my pipes. I don't know if you can tell right now, I have a pretty sore throat.
I'm bringing you some medicine for that, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll take care of you. All right, we're talking to Billy Joel live in Leningrad on the DIR Radio Network. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Mike, listening to WMAD-FM in Madison, Wisconsin. Mike, your question for Billy.
Yes, I was wondering if there was any place that you haven't gone in the world already that you would like to go to.
You know what? Right now, I would like to go home because I've been on the road for a year. And there are probably places I would like to see, but I can't think of them right now. All I can think of is my backyard and a barbecue going and my little kid running around on the grass.
Let's talk to Kelly, listening to WCVQ-FM in Nashville, Tennessee. Kelly, your question for Billy?
Yes, I was wondering, I know your daughter's probably too young to fathom the possibilities, but how is the entire family enjoying Russia?
Both Christy and the baby have been really doing well on this trip to the Soviet Union. The baby has seen a lot of different other kids. She wants to see kids. Basically, she wants to play. And every time she sees kids, she stops and points, and they talk their little baby jabber at each other, and they have a great old time. Christy's been being able to sightsee more than me because I've been hung up doing a lot of work. She's been talking to a lot of people. She's fascinated by this place. She's just really adjusted to it well. You'd have to ask her though, because both of us are going through so many emotional feelings. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 weeks until we realize how we feel about it when we're home.
Well, is she there? Shall we speak with her or what?
Yeah, she's here, but she's yelling at me no.
Okay.
She doesn't want to talk.
Well, is she quite the household face over there that she is here in America? Can she walk down the street over there?
Well, you know, people look at her whether they know her or not. I noticed that a lot of women turn when she passes by and kind of give her the up and down look. Like, wow, look at her. And the guys, being guys, look at her like, whoa, look at her.
But not
and the question she's gotten a lot of times, which she told me was, she'll go into a shop and a woman will pull her aside and said, listen, now that we're alone, how old are you? Because I saw that you have a little baby with you, and I thought, oh, you're too young to have a baby. And Christy said, well, well, she's saying, shh, don't tell him how old you are.
Yeah, right. And
well, how old are you? You're 33. She's 33, and she'll tell the woman 33, and they go, oh, no, like they can't believe she's 33.
Billy, that information won't go no further than 300 radio stations all across America. You can tell Christy to rest assured. We have Craig on the line.
Yeah, let's...
Okay. We have Craig on the line, listening right here in New York City to WNEW-FM. Craig, your question for Billy.
Hey, Billy, this is Craig. Did Russian music have anything to do with you becoming a singer?
Oh, I'm sure it did. Like I said, the earliest music I heard as a child was classical music, and because Russian music had such a great influence on the classical music movement, it couldn't help but impact what I did after that. I learned how to play the piano by playing classical music, and it affected the rest of my life. Being able to play the piano enabled me to be able to write music. So I would have to give that a definite yes.
Erica is listening in Germantown, Maryland to WWDC-FM. Erica, your question for Billy Joel.
Okay, should I say it now?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you start playing piano?
I started playing the piano when I was 4 years old.
Okay, let's go to Robin, listening to KSHE-FM in St. Louis, Missouri. Robin, your question for Billy.
Yes, is he having a good time in Russia?
Okay, good question. When I first got here, I was on a schedule that I was not having a great time because it was just too jammed up with work, trying to sightsee, but also do a documentary film and also work out these jam sessions, trying to meet people, talking to the press. We've since adjusted our schedule, so it's been easier for me, and it's gotten easier as I've gone along. The response from people in the Soviet Union to what I'm doing has been so enthusiastic and so warm that I'm enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying it. As a matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I've enjoyed listening to my own lyrics as I sang them before. I've kind of rediscovered my own music here. I would tell other artists that who are thinking of coming over here that your lyrics take on a completely different meaning. You almost write your songs all over again, and it's a great, emotionally satisfying thing.
You kind of sit there and wonder what the translation of these songs might be, I guess.
Well, the translator can't translate the songs themselves. He'll translate my introduction to the songs, but the music and the things that they do understand in English does get across. And it's my theory that I've held all along. The music is the message. The feeling is the message. What's going on stage is the message. I mean, we get crazy on stage. We encourage people to get crazy in the audience. And they're not used to this. Usually it's much more restrained, it's much more organized. And as you know, rock and roll is a form of anarchy. It's a form of complete expression, self-expression. And the people in the audience have to get caught up in it. And that's when it works as a concert.
I wonder how they react to some of the songs, particularly like Still Rock and Roll or The Longest Time, songs that refer more specifically to your background in the time when you were growing up. They can't really relate to that particular experience, I would think.
Well, I don't know if they're necessarily relating to the lyrics so much, but when they hear The Longest Time, they know that we're doing, and I've explained it, this is street corner a cappella music, and they can relate to guys getting together on a corner and harmonizing because they do that a lot. They do a lot of harmony singing. And when we do a song like It's Still Rock and Roll to Me, they know what the word rock and roll means to them. And they really enjoy the beat, and they enjoy what's going on stage, because at that point in the show, I'm having physical contact with the audience. They're right at the edge of the stage, and they're grabbing at me, pulling my shoes off, pulling at my jacket, shaking my hand, jumping around, so they can feel it.
Anybody jumped up on the stage to hug or kiss you yet?
Oh, yeah, we had a guy in a Soviet army uniform jump on the stage and start boogieing away. And, you know, my stage guys kind of moved him gently off the stage. And they were throwing him up and down in the air. Kids have been, you know, climbing up the stairs, throwing flowers, hats, you name it. We've seen it.
That's great. Let's go to Marge in the Bronx, listening on WNEW-FM. Marge, your question for Billy.
Hi, Billy. I'd like to know how the Russian people went about getting the tickets for the concert.
Well, you can only control a certain amount of how the tickets are given out. We tried to hammer that out in the beginning. I said I wanted the guy in the street to be able to get tickets. They agreed to that tickets would be distributed at kiosks. That's their ticket outlets. And a certain amount of blocks of tickets go to factories. They go to, like, artist unions. These aren't necessarily, you know, what you're going to think of as the big shots. These are just people who are, they're like a big organization of people who work in factories, who you know, just like, how can I explain this?
Composer unions.
Composers union. I mean, that's the way they just do tickets. Now, a certain amount of them, I can tell where they were in the audience, the people who were, like, really connected. They were kind of sitting there, and it was too loud for them. I suppose they didn't really come for the rock and roll. They came because it was the thing to do, the place to be. Sort of like sometimes you do a concert in a city that's the music industry. Everybody shows up because it's the thing to do, but they didn't really go to see me. But what happens is those people leave, and they give their tickets to the kids outside, and the kids get in.
The tickets were
I went up to a...
Sorry, go ahead.
Let me finish. I went up to a kiosk myself and said, are there any Billy Joel tickets? And they said yes. So, and kids said yes, that they bought tickets on the streets because I asked them.
Wow. And the tickets are relatively low price if they bought them there, right? Compared to here, I would think.
6 rubles. 6 rubles. Which is worth about $10.
Not a bad deal.
No, it's not a bad deal. The price is good.
And you get the whole show just like here. So everybody, let's head over there to Leningrad for the show tomorrow. Well, actually, they'll be able to hear your show tomorrow right here on these same stations starting at 1 Eastern time. Let's go to Michelle in Bloomfield.
Wait, Ed?
Yes.
Just one more thing. It's interesting that you said that because I just found out that the radio station people here, it's called Gostella Radio, have just decided to broadcast the first Leningrad concert on radio throughout the entire USSR.
That is incredible. That is incredible. That's great. Let's go to Michelle in Bloomfield, New Jersey, listening on WNEW-FM. Michelle, your question for Billy.
Yeah, hi, Billy. Listen, I just wanted to know, we hear so many things in the States about the Soviet Union, rumors or whatever they might be, but have you been nervous at all being there with your wife and daughter at any time?
No, I haven't been nervous about my wife and daughter. I feel perfectly safe having my family here, although I got to tell you, the water in Leningrad leaves a lot to be desired. You know, this city was built on a swamp, and the water's pretty funky. But I have no qualms about their safety or their comfort. They've been having a great time. The only thing I'm worried about is that they've been on the road for so long. The baby has been through different time schedules. Christy's been out on the international part of the tour with me since May, and I would like to get her and the kid home just so they can adjust.
Okay, let's talk to Jackie, listening in Mentor, Ohio on WMMS-FM. Jackie, your question for Billy Joel.
Yes, there must be like 3 different generations in the USA who like you. What different generations are in the USSR?
There are the same amount of age groups in the USSR as there is in the States. I've gone to people's houses. The amazing thing is these people got to get along because a lot of them have 3 generations living in the same house. There's the grandparents, the parents, the kids. Sometimes there's 4 generations living in the same house. Now, I'm sure they got to have big arguments sometimes. But for the most part, I'm assuming that they seem to get along fairly smoothly. They have good family relationships here. It's very, very strong with the family. They just handed me a note. It says, Billy, say, quote, Ed, I guess we have time just for 1 or 2 more questions, end quote.
Okay, I got the message, Bill. I just want to ask you, is there the equivalent of the post-war baby boom yuppie generation over there that would parallel ours?
No, this is a whole different ball of wax. This, I sort of get a vibe here of the early 60s. The song I keep humming in my head is the Bob Dylan song, The Times They Are A-Changin'. It just keeps rolling around in my head. It reminds me very much of the 60s.
Let's take a couple of more calls while we have time. Paul from Boise, Idaho, listening on KXBQ-FM. Paul, your question for Billy.
Yeah.
Turn your radio down and just talk to Billy.
Okay, well, I'd like to ask if on your tour there, I wanted to know if on your tour there you do any hassle songs.
No.
Okay. Could have told you that. Barry, listening in Florence, South Carolina to WJMX-FM. Barry, your question for Billy?
Yeah, Billy. Well, I'd like to know, have you met any of the Soviet rock musicians or seen any of their work since you've been there?
Yes, I have. Down in Tbilisi, I met a couple of guys who we jammed with. This bass player named Tomas, who was fantastic. This guy could play bass with any jazz group in America. Guy was fabulous. In Moscow, my guys went and jammed with a couple of members of the Stas Namen band, and they stayed up all night and had what they said was a great jam session with them. Here in Leningrad, I've met with a guy named Boris Grebenshikov, who leads a group called Aquarium. I just met him last night. Real interesting guy. And it's been great being able to talk to musicians over here.
Do you, Billy, do you envision doing any recording or writing or perhaps any influence on your next musical project as a result of this visit?
I don't know. I'm assuming something's going to happen because I'm having a lot of emotional feelings while I'm here, and it's great for a writer to utilize those things. If I tried to do it right now, I think it wouldn't really reflect what I would want to come out in a record. I've got to go home and think about it. I don't know if I want to write an album that's politically oriented or anything. I'd still like to write about people. But again, I don't want to get up on a soapbox. I've got to let my emotions settle a little bit, and then I'll know what I'm going to do.
Okay, let's talk to Lisa, listening in Monroe, Connecticut, to WRKI-FM. Lisa, your question for Billy.
Hi, I was wondering if the tour is anything that you expected?
I've never experienced this particular kind of tour, just here in the Soviet Union. My expectations were high. There was a lot to lose. There was a lot to gain. I probably haven't been this nervous since the very beginning of the tour when we started in Glens Falls, New York. It was sort of like opening night. It's nothing like I expected, and then again, it's everything I expected. People love rock and roll.
Here's Bernie in Little Neck, Long Island. You know where it is, Bill? Listening on WNEW-FM. Bernie.
How you doing? Hi, Bill.
Hi.
How you doing? I'm probably a number one fan in the whole world of every album, every disc, everything. I loved your last album really a lot. I'd like to know when your next one is coming out.
You got me. Like I said, I've been on the road for a year, and I'm going to have to go home and take a little rest. Then I got to go to Australia, so I don't know when that album's going to come out.
Am I correct in...
I'll try...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. Is it correct that HBO will be taping your concert, so we'll see some of the Leningrad show over here?
Yes, they're taping the whole concert. I'm sorry, they're telling me something. What is it you want me to say? Okay, yeah, we've got to get off. I think we've used up our transmission time. Everybody's going cut, cut, cut. So I just wanted to say it's great having the opportunity to talk to everybody here. The tour's going well, and I'll see you back in the USA.
All right, Billy, thanks a lot for talking with us today.